My name is Jeremy Gimpel. I live in the Judean mountains in the land of Israel, and the context in which I live is that I'm a part of the most legendary story in human history. It's called the story of the Jewish people. America is moving its embassy to Jerusalem. The world is recognizing the rights of the Jewish people to live in our ancient homeland as we approach the 70th year of the rebirth of the nation of Israel in our homeland. Wait a minute. I also have bills to pay, a farm to build. My dear mother-in-law was just diagnosed with a brain tumor. My teenager and children are constantly testing my parenting patience. How the hell do I tie all this together? With Ari traveling around the world, this week I go solo on Israel Inspired.
And now, live from Jerusalem, you're listening to Israel Inspired Radio. Here are your hosts, Rabbis Ari Abramowitz and Jeremy Gimpel.
Shalom, everybody, and welcome to Israel Inspired on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. This is Jeremy Gimpel, and I'm going solo this week. Ari Abramowitz is on a whirlwind tour of the United States. He's coming back at the end of this week. So this week, I'm here all on my own. I have a lot to talk about, so I'm just going to start off and just let it rip. We're right now in a very special time in the Jewish calendar. We've just celebrated Purim, and my Purim was spectacular. And Purim is the end of the year. You know, it says in the Torah that Nisan is really the very beginning of the year, and we end the year with this amazing redemption from Persia. And then we start the year with our first redemption from Egypt. One redemption was so hidden where God's name isn't revealed at all. And then one redemption is with the most incredible miracles the world has ever seen. And we're now in this in-between time where we really try to internalize that God works in our life in both ways, hidden and revealed miracles. But something's happening right now. You know, there's so much going on in the world. There's so much going on in my personal life. But first and foremost, what I want to do is I just want to share some highlights from Purim. And, you know, as the Purim story goes, we encounter Haman right after he has to travel with Mordechai down the road saying, this is what will happen to the one who the king loves. And then he comes into his house, his head is down, he's so upset. I mean, the last time I could remember seeing anything like that was when President Barack Obama had to bring Donald Trump around and give him the tour of the White House. And all of the cameras of the world were like on Donald Trump, and he's smiling, and Barack Obama was so ashamed and so embarrassed after such a devastating and shocking loss. And he was traveling around the White House saying, well, this will be your office and this will be your room. And there was one point in the story when Haman comes in and he's just so embarrassed. So usually the pasuk is translated, listen, if Mordechai is from Jewish lineage, lo tuchalo nafol tipol lefanav, you will not be able to overcome him. You're going to fall before him. And the Al-Sheikh says something that we've been reading it wrong this whole time. What it says is, lo, no, period, tuchalo. You can still beat him, Haman. His wife is giving him words of encouragement. All you have to do is nafol tipol lefanav. Just fall before him. And in the Bible, in the Torah, in the Tanakh, when it says vaipol al panav, when someone falls on their face, it's usually asking for forgiveness. It's usually admitting that you're wrong. And so what is Zeresh, Haman's wife, saying? Don't worry, he's a Jew. Don't worry, we know the trick. We're Amalek. All you have to do is say you're sorry. Fall on your face, say you're sorry, offer a peace plan. And even if you tried to kill us in 1948, and then you tried to kill us in 1967, nafol tipol lefanav, don't worry, if you just say you're sorry and that you want to make peace, immediately Mordechai and Esther will forgive you. And then later on in the Megillah, it says that Haman falls onto Esther's bed. Now, most of the interpretations that I've read say that either Hashem pushed him to fall in order to set him up, that it would look like he's trying to sleep with her, or that he trips and falls. But here, it really plugs in to the Al-Sheikh's interpretation, that he fell on her bed like Zeresh, his wife, told him to. So you can beat the Jews. All you have to do is fall before them and say you're sorry. And now here we are living in this incredible time where we've lived through this like 20, 30 years of this Oslo ridiculous peace process, where Amalek was trying to figure out a way to somehow overcome us. Just give up your land. Just make your borders shorter. Make your borders. Well, don't worry. We're sorry. We're sorry. Oh, we shot you rockets from Gaza. Oh, we are sorry. We're sorry. Now we're building tunnels. Oh, no, we don't mean it. Come on, let's just make peace together. And for so long, the Jewish people just kept on falling into the trap that we always fall into until Nikki Haley came around. And of course, the hat tip to President Donald Trump.
Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. That's a fact. And President Trump had the courage to recognize that fact when others would not. Sometime in the future, the day will come when the whole world recognizes that fact.
It's almost like a plan is unfolding here. And just, if you leave it up to the Jewish people, we're just going to enter into peace negotiations because we love peace processes so much. We just want to live in peace. We're just a peaceful people. And so it took people from the outside. It took Esav to come around. I mean, look at Donald Trump. He's like the embodiment of Esav. He's got red hair. He's materialistic. It's like fast food, fast politics. The man just became the leader of the world in no time at all. The representation of the Western world. But somehow, in the best way possible for Israel. I don't think there has ever been a president that has been as good for the state of Israel as President Donald Trump. So we just got to give that guy a hat tip. But what's happening here? There's some sort of unfolding. There's a story that's unfolding. There's a destiny that's unfolding. I really just talked about it at the beginning of the show because that really is in my heart. And I feel like Purim, the final lesson of the year, is that we all dress up in costumes. And why are we dressing up in costumes? It's because the truth of this world is we are all actors in God's story. The story of the Tanakh is unfolding today, and all of us are playing our parts in it. And there's a much larger unfolding that's happening here, a global reality that's unfolding. And its center stage is the land of Israel. And the center of stage is Jerusalem and the Temple Mount. And all of it is unfolding now for us to find our place within this reality. You know, as we celebrate Passover, we're meant to see every year, it's as if we left Egypt right now. And it's juxtaposed to Purim to make it really real, that we can really feel redeemed. We can really see it unfolding now. And so much is happening now at the farm. I can't even tell you. I feel like every other week is such an adventure here. We were visited by a rabbi in the old city whose name is Rabbi Ohad Turgeman. You can look him up online, I think, although I don't think he has a telephone. But he is what we would call an Ilui. He is a giant in Kabbalah, in Halakha. He's a pretty young rabbi, but he is committed and dedicated, that's for sure. And in the old city, in the Beit Midrash, in the study hall of the Kabbalist, the Rashash, he hosts his own little study group. And the study group there is dedicating itself to what he calls Kabbalah Nivu'it, to prophetic Kabbalah. And he says, Jeremy, I'm coming out to your farm and I see that you guys have plowed through lands that haven't been plowed through in 2,000 years. He says, what we're doing in the old city, we are plowing through Torah that has been untouched for centuries. And we're restoring prophetic order into the Jewish people. And he was saying that one day he wants to take his small learning group and bring them out to our Center for Jewish Spirituality, for our Torah Center for the Nations. He wants it to come to our farm and have a small group of elite rabbis that are here not to study philosophy, not to study law, but to restore prophecy to the Jewish people. And sometimes I look at our farm and I'm like, what? We're going to establish the first school of prophecy in the land of Israel? Is that actually happening? And that was just one of the meetings that happened. Another woman came back from Canada to the land of Israel, a Jewish woman, and she discovered what is known as Jacob's sheep. You can Google it online. You'll see articles from Reuters, from I think CNN. I mean, it was global coverage that 12 universities discovered the genetic strand of these sheep, their origins that are found now in Canada. Their origins are in the mountains of Judea. And some of these sheep have 6 horns so they could make the most incredible shofars. And she brought about 100 sheep from Canada to Israel to bring them back to their original place. And her dream was to protect these sheep, to guard these sheep. She doesn't kill them. She doesn't shech them. She doesn't use their meat to be eaten. She's holding onto them and guarding them, that in order that when the temple is built, she wants to take these sheep dedicated to God to be sacrifices in the temple. And she has right now, all of her sheep are based up north. And she said because of security reasons and other logistical concerns, she wants to move Jacob's sheep here to our farm. And I said, you're about to bring Jacob's sheep, whose origin were in the mountains of Judea, to our Judean farm in the mountains, restoring the sheep to their proper place? I'm just sitting on this mountaintop, and these things are happening to Ari and I. We're just living this out. And now it's challenging because this farm is much larger than Ari and I. I mean, we're about $1 million out from where we need to be, and that's about $1 million more than Ari and I have. And on one hand, we see that miracles are happening here, that some incredible unfolding plan is developing here in the Judean mountains. You know, when we're in our Beit Tefillah, in our house of prayer, you look through the window when you're praying, and you literally see directly towards the Temple Mount. You can't see the Temple Mount itself because the mountain is a little bit sunk. It's a little bit lower than the other mountains that surround it. But we are like in direct line with the heart of the entire universe. That when you're south of Jerusalem, you're praying in that direction. When you're north of Jerusalem, you're praying to the south. Like in America, you pretty much always face the east. But in Israel or in Jerusalem, it may depend on what side of the city you're on to know in which direction to pray. And all of our prayers have been focused towards Jerusalem and towards Har HaBayit for so many years. And now we just see that the whole world is now recognizing and slowly but surely moving their embassies to Jerusalem, and all of this happening in the 70th year of Israel's independence. I mean, something is going on here. Every time we've needed to make a payment for this farm over the last almost 3 years, miracles have happened and we've been able to make payments. About a month ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, we didn't have any money. And the workers that are out here that are helping us build, they needed to get paid. And we went up to them and we're like, listen, I don't know what to say, but we are out of cash. We have nothing to pay you. And they're like, well, we better get paid. And we said, listen, we're so sorry. As soon as money comes in, we will pay you immediately. But we are sorry to say that we just don't have the money. And they looked over at our sheep and they said, well, you got a bunch of sheep here. And I'm like, do you want sheep? I mean, each sheep is about 2,000 shekels. I says, well, that would pretty much cover the payment. And so I have a picture of it. If you want it, just send me a WhatsApp. We gave them about 3/4 of our flock. It's fun that we live in a world that the people around us, they'll work for sheep. They'll barter with us in that way. And we didn't have payment. It's like, well, better sheep than nothing. And I think we gave them a pretty good deal on it. And I have pictures of these Arab workers driving off with sheep in the backs of their car, in the carriage that's pulled behind a Jeep. All of our sheep are being pulled off of our farm. So on one hand, it's very sad that our flock has been shrunk. But on the other hand, we made payment for that month. And every time we see that there's some sort of challenge ahead, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has always given us the answer. I feel in some ways he's training us to know that don't worry, just take one portion of manna. You wake up in the morning, take another portion of manna. Wake up in the morning, take another portion of manna. Because some of the Jews, as they were being trained in this boot camp of emunah, in this boot camp of faith, sometimes they would take 2 portions because they're like, well, what if tomorrow it doesn't come? And then by the morning, worms would come and eat their second portion of manna. And Hashem was training them, don't worry, I'm here for you. He knows what's going on. He knows how this is all going to unfold. And in hard times, it's really a gift to lean on that knowledge, to know that everything is happening in His time, everything is happening under His will. He knows what's best for us. He knows what time is right for us. And our job is really to live in the moment of now. We have this day. Ze hayom asa Hashem nagila v'nismecha bo. That's in the book of Psalms. This day we have, this day Hashem created, this is the one that we got. Nagila v'nismecha bo, let's rejoice and be happy in it, because we have no idea what tomorrow will bring. I was just walking around my life. Monday morning, beautiful day. I had a pastor from Texas coming out to the farm. I had some dear friends from South Carolina that were coming out to the farm later on in the afternoon. It was just going to be the most marvelous day. And to make a long story short, we discovered that morning after rushing my mother-in-law to the hospital that she was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor. I mean, the doctor walked into the room, and this is already late at night, and the doctor said, well, the CAT scan has come back, and now we have hope. The best case scenario is that it is a malignant brain tumor. And my mother-in-law looked at the doctor and said, that's the best case scenario? That sounds like the worst case scenario. And the doctor said, no, the worst case scenario is that you may have cancer already in different parts of your body and it's already spread to your brain. But the best case scenario is that this tumor is just in your brain and hopefully we'll be able to remove it in a very complicated and dangerous surgery. And so you just never know. I live with certain concerns about this farm, about my children, about Israel. And I just, everyone, I guess, has concerns on some level about some issues. And then out of nowhere on a Monday morning, you are sideswiped with something that wasn't even on your radar of things to be concerned about. I mean, Tehila's mother is a young woman. She's like the youngest of all of the grandparents on my side and Tehila's side of the family. And so this just came in such a time right before Passover. And so immediately, I sent out messages to my friends. And I said, listen, people started hurrying. The rumor started getting out. And I said, I want you to know that my mother-in-law, her name is Dina Golda Bat Chiena. And if you'd like to, pray for her. So that would, of course, would be so appreciated. And immediately, of course, my immediate dearest and nearest friends that, we learn with in the mornings with Rabbi Shlomo Katz. So immediately they were like, they're prayer warriors. They're like mitzvah warriors. And so immediately they got in action. Then other friends of mine from around started praying. And, I struggle with prayer a lot, even though I love prayer. God is so far beyond our comprehension. Sometimes I feel like, what is this prayer supposed to do? Am I trying to change God's mind? Am I trying to change myself? Is it somehow a combination of both? Well, let me tell you what happened. People started praying for my mother-in-law. And then the next day we get the MRI scan back. And the MRI scan comes in and the doctor comes in and says, we have good news. We thought it was a malignant tumor, but there is now quite a bit of hope that it's actually a benign tumor. And let me just tell you, I don't know what to say, but the Gazzara, the decree that was on my mother-in-law, was somehow reversed. The doctor came in, serious, solid. This is a malignant tumor. We went to bed, it's a malignant tumor. People started praying, and then that afternoon, all of a sudden now, there's a chance that it's a benign tumor. Now, I don't know if that's the way prayer works or if that's the way it's supposed to work, but I don't really care. What I see is that God is involved here and that Hashem has a plan and that everything that happens is letovah. And this, for me, was a wake-up call on two levels. First, take advantage of every day possible. Every day is a gift. Every day should be lived to its fullest. But that's on two levels. That's in one level of living in the now. Don't get too caught up about the past and don't get too lost in the future. We have today, spend time with your children, learn Torah, live it up. But more than that, my mother-in-law for the last 3 years has been counting down her retirement. And she says, in 3 years, I'm retiring. In 2.5 years, I'm retiring. In 1.5 years, I'm going to retire. Oh my goodness, in 1.5 years, I'm going to start living life to its fullest. Friends, don't fall into that trap. Learn this lesson that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bringing to all of us now. Live the best life that we can live right now. This is all we got. Start living the dream right now. Start finding your passions right now. Don't wait until retirement. Don't wait until you move. Don't wait until you finally make aliyah. Don't wait until the next day when one day it's going to happen. We have today. Let's make it happen now. And so, Hashem has always pulled through. We have reached moments of despair in Jewish history like no other people. And we've reached moments of despair so many times where we were just on our knees, fasting, whether it was in the times of Esther or in the times of the Romans or in the times of the judges. I mean, all throughout history. And now we come up to our first galut, the most powerful of all exiles was Egypt. And we had no chance. I mean, if you were to take a snapshot of the Egyptian empire 3,500 years ago, and you were to see the mightiest empire of the world with the most sophisticated technology, their sciences of understanding astronomy, their sciences of understanding how the body decomposes and mummifying realities. They were the most sophisticated, advanced culture, the most powerful military. And oh, by the way, there's also these Jewish slaves. There's a bunch of slaves here that are building all of their empire for them. Who here is going to change the world? Take a snapshot right now. Who here is going to influence global consciousness, bring morality to the world? Who here is going to teach the world about the one God of Israel? Who is going to change the world like no other culture has ever changed the world? I think if you were to take a snapshot just in that time, I think the slaves, they were not on the radar. It was going to be the Egyptian empire, and the Jewish people had no hope. We had no chance. I mean, every other nation in the world has their legendary stories of how they were founded. The mountains created this people, and the stars and the moon gave birth to these people. And these people were raised by wolves and so tough that they were able to establish this country. And everyone has their legendary stories of how their people were created. The Jewish people's legendary story is really kind of embarrassing. We were the lowest people in the world. We were the lowest of the low. We were slaves with no hope, with no freedom, with no choice, and no place to run. And that's how we started off our journey. On our knees, with no hope. And from that place, we begin. And now it's been quite a long journey to the 70th year of the State of Israel. Oh my goodness, quite a journey. But here we have it. Time after time after time, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what he's doing. And he's crafted us to be this marvelous people that love each other, that support each other, that grow with each other, that have evolved through the times, that have brought such new Torahs into the world, that have brought so many new technologies into the world. And so now here we are once again, you know. What I've noticed is that the hard times that I've gone through in my personal life are the times where I discover who I am. You know, when everything is hunky-dory and everything is just happening and everything is happy and everything is good and everything is, you know, just rocking and rolling. So of course you're a strong guy. Of course you're a confident guy. Of course you're on the top of the world. Everything's going your way. What happens when you get knocked down? What happens when fear creeps in? What happens when you're stretched to the limit? That's when you discover who you really are. It's in those places of challenge that we're able to rise up to the occasion and actually discover who we are. You know, so many choices in our life are imposed upon us. What does society want me to do? What do my parents want me to do? What does the peer pressure? What am I supposed to do? My fears control me. My desires control me. What do I want? What are my passions? What do I care about? And I find that this farm, this place, this center for Jewish spirituality, the center for music, the center for Torah for the nations, whatever this place is going to be, a school for prophets, I'm finding that when people come here, they're somehow able to tap into themselves. They're able to find out who they are. Imagine the goal of this place to be a place where people finally turn off their phones and find themselves. I was just learning this week in the Tanya just about how prophecy works and how do we tap into the divine message that on one hand is concealed from everyone else, but somehow some individuals are able to tap into, to tune into a frequency that only they can hear. Even though the message is there, it's just simply not revealed to everyone. And in Hebrew or in Aramaic, they would call that an aspaklaria, the prism through which the prophet is able to see into the other world or hear into the other world is called aspaklaria. Now, it's a question, what does the word aspaklaria mean? Well, on one hand, it means almost like a window. And it says the higher the prophet, then the clearer the window he is looking through. So a prophet sometimes just gets vague images, and from the images he has to understand the meaning of the images, and then he has to sort of from that place know what God wants. But Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, His aspaklaria was me'ira. His aspaklaria was illuminated, or his aspaklaria was clear. He was able to just see directly through the window and receive direct revelation from Hashem. But another interpretation of the word aspaklaria isn't window, it's mirror. And why do I love that understanding? Because both of them are true. A mirror, when you look at a mirror, what are you looking at? You're looking at yourself. And you want to discover God? You want to discover God's message for you? You want to discover Hashem's mission for you in the world? Where do you need to look? You don't need to look outside. You need to look inside. And deep within yourself, you find HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, some of us just want that. We need that. We drive for that. We strive for that. We're learning towards that. But sometimes, almost like you need a kick in the pants. You need a fire put under your tuchus. You know what I mean? You need to, sometimes the challenges that come to us force us to go inside on the inside and discover an inner strength that we didn't even know that we had. When Abraham is asked to take Isaac for an offering, I mean, was that for God? Maybe it was for Abraham. Maybe it was for Isaac, to let them know how dedicated they were, to let the world know how dedicated they were. It's when in the hardships and challenges, we discover the best parts of ourselves. The Talmud says that the Jewish people are like olives, and only under immense pressure does the best part of the olive oil, come out. And just like a diamond, under incredible stress and pressure, that coal turns into a diamond. So too, this world is here to perfect us, to train us, to allow our best qualities to come out. And I think that's the key, because a lot of times I fall into a mentality of like, oh, why is it so hard? If you ever feel that, why is it so hard? It means that you're off the path. There is a very specific path that the Torah is guiding us upon. When you learn Torah, the purpose needs to be that we are learning Torah in order to train us to become a knight, to become a soldier in King David's army, to become a warrior. The Torah needs to build us with spiritual muscles, spiritual power, emotional strength, that when the tidal waves of life come crashing onto us, that somehow we'll have the ability to somehow not fight the wave, but ride the wave. That's the teaching of the Torah. The Torah teaches us to become warriors, but really, Rav Dov Zinger, the Rosh Hashiva of Makor Chaim, says all of the challenges that he lived through. And just a few years ago, 3 of his boys from his yeshiva were kidnapped and killed. And he said that over the years, Hashem has been teaching him to become soft. And through softness, he finds strength. And I was thinking about that so much. What does it mean to be soft? It means that the world is going to throw us punches. The world is so powerful. This universe is like a giant tidal wave, and there is no chance that we can control anything around us, because it just might happen on a Monday afternoon that you found out that your mother-in-law has a brain tumor, and now the whole family is going to change. Everything is going to be different. But a warrior is able to somehow take that punch and, like a judo master, roll with it. Roll with the punch, take that energy, and then make it productive. It's soft enough to know that we're not in control here, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that's involved. And if we know be'emunah, we know with faith that everything that happens in this world happens for the best, that means that every tidal wave that comes is just an opportunity to catch another wave. I feel like I learned how to surf in the beaches of Gaza when I was 18 years old. After I finished high school, I lived in Gush Katif for a few months learning in a yeshiva there. And every day I was out on the beaches surfing. Eventually, that's why I had to leave that yeshiva, because I'm not mature enough to not go surfing. So eventually I had to move out to Hebron so I could finally get some Torah study. But when I was out there, I felt like that was such a lesson HaKadosh Baruch Hu was teaching me at such a young age. The waves are so powerful. There is no chance you have any way of controlling them, of stopping them, of controlling yourself. All we can do is learn to ride the waves of life. And the Torah that we learn, it's meant to teach us to become warriors in the army of David. But a warrior, you could somehow imagine as this big, muscly man, like a man of steel. It's not a man of steel. It's not the Superman. It's not that the train comes and Superman stops it and the train runs into him. That's not the way the Torah is trying to train us. The Torah is training us to become like, I guess the only analogy that's coming to mind right now is a little bit like a judo master. That as the punch is being thrown to us, to be soft enough to catch that punch and move it away, and at the same time capitalize on the opportunity. Because every challenge that comes to us is a communication. Something needs to be fixed. Something needs to be discovered. A good deed needs to be taken on. Something needs to happen here. A communication is being sent to us. And sometimes we could pull out the Rebbe Nachman card. And we could say, hey, I'm just going to be happy. Akol letova, everything is for the best. I'm just going to be so happy. Yay. I have emunah that everything is okay. But if we do that, we actually may miss what the purpose of this challenge is. When I take my child and I say, go to your room, if they go to their room and they just start playing with their Legos, they haven't really accomplished what I wanted to happen. I wanted them to go to their room in order to think about their deeds and what they've done wrong and how they can become better. And sometimes when a challenge hits us, there's a communication being sent to us. We have to really dig deep and figure out what is going on. This is an opportunity to become a better person. And the Torah is training us to become warriors. Warriors in the army of King David. I can't stop thinking about that. And as we become stronger and stronger in emunah, and as we become stronger and stronger in Torah, then hopefully the challenges that face us, we're able to see them in the context of our own personal lives, in our own personal stories. But even more powerful than that, all of our personal lives and personal stories are intertwined within the most marvelous story of all. And if we keep that in mind, that all of us are somehow attached to the biblical destiny that's unfolding in the land of Israel. And everyone that's listening to this broadcast, whether it be in Hong Kong or in the United States, if you're tuning into the Land of Israel Network, it means that you're plugged into what's happening in the center of God's plan for all of humanity. You know, I can't help myself. I go to visit my mother-in-law in Hadassah Hospital, and I haven't been to the hospital in I don't even know how long. Years and years and years. And I walk into the hospital, and it's amazing because my father-in-law works for Hadassah Har Tzofim, and I'm always hearing that Hadassah is going bankrupt and Hadassah is going bankrupt. Well, they are doing a fantastic job going bankrupt because the hospital looks like nothing I've ever seen before. It is the most spectacular building. It is gorgeous. The elevators, the computer systems, the rooms that my mother-in-law is staying in, I'm walking through the halls and I'm like, are we in a messianic hospital? I have never seen a hospital this nice. I've never seen a hospital this technologically advanced, so comfortable. I mean, we are living in an amazing time that the state of Israel, my father remembers a day when he was a little boy growing up, that there was one asphalt road that connected Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. They called it Hakvish HaShachor, the Black Road. And now walk into Hadassah in Karem and see the most technologically advanced hospital in the entire world. People from around the world, from Europe, from Arab countries, from the United States, are flying to Israel on what's now being termed Tayarut Briutit, health tourism. People are coming to Israel just because they want that Jewish doctor. And you want a Jewish doctor, you're going to come to the Jewish state. And the hospital was marvelous. And so even though I'm going to visit my mother-in-law and living through this very challenging time for my whole family, I know that I'm still living within a much larger context. And I'm looking at the state of Israel around us. And I just know that something marvelous is going on here. And here's how we connect all the dots together. Everyone in life is going to have challenges. Everyone in life is going to be put to the test because that's why we are here. We're not here to rest. We're not here to enjoy life. Hopefully life can be enjoyable. Hopefully we say thank you every day to God. But we are here in Olam Ha'asiyah. We are here in the world of doing. We're here in the world of making a difference. We're here to letaken olam b'malchut Shaddai, to fix this world in the kingdom of God. And if we know that everything that happens to us on a personal level is perfectly intertwined with what's happening to us on a national level, and the Torah that we learn in our individual lives and the prayers that we say in our individual lives are affecting myriads of spiritual worlds far beyond our grasp. Everything is interconnected. The Jewish people are all one body, and the righteous among the nations that are now attaching themselves to Israel are tapping in to that oneness as well. And so when you live in this context, everything is meaningful. Every home that you build in the land of Israel is meaningful. Every child you send to school in the land of Israel is meaningful. Every dollar you give to the land of Israel is meaningful because we are a part of such a magical and wonderful and wondrous story. And I want to end today with a little bit of politics. I'm getting a lot of emails, people asking me, so what do you think Trump's peace plan should be? I mean, he's moving the embassy. He's put Israel in a very strong negotiating position. Donald Trump, he's a deal maker. He wants to cut a deal. He wants to cut a deal with North Korea. He wants to cut a deal in the Middle East. He wants to go down in the history books as the greatest president in the United States. And so he's going to want to make a deal. What should Trump's peace plan be? The answer is simple. Trump's peace plan should be to do absolutely nothing. Leave Israel alone and let Israel take care of herself. And believe me, Israel will find the best solution for Israel and for the Arabs, for the Christians, for the Baha'i, for the Buddhists. We will find the solution for all of the people that live inside our country right now. And if Donald Trump just lets us be, gives us a little bit of space to do what Israel needs to do, we will see marvelous things unfold. 70 years is such a big deal. But I'm not celebrating 70 years. I'm celebrating 74 years. Where were we 74 years ago in 1944? We were in ashes. We were in dry bones and dead bodies with no hope. And from the ashes and dry bones that Yechezkel saw, the state of Israel has been reborn. Now, all of us are going to be brought to our knees at some points in our life. And we have an opportunity to attach ourselves to the story of the Jewish people, to attach ourselves to the story of the Tanakh, to attach ourselves to the God of Israel. And we know that although we are brought to our knees, Hashem has a plan. And we're a part of it. And so I want to bless everyone that Hashem shine his light in our lives, and that we're always able to see the light even in dark times. And know that marvelous times are ahead. And we're literally seeing the first glimmers of the sunrise of a new day here in Judea and soon in Jerusalem. For those of you that would like to pray for my mother-in-law, her name is Dina Golda Bat Chiena. And if that was a lot to swallow, just say Jeremy's mother-in-law. God knows who you're talking about. Thank you all so much. We'll see you again next week, but this time